Good day. It's morning here at my Scorpion lab. I wanted to talk a bit about a ghost hunting club I was in, and I have to set the stage. I was once with a woman named Brandy Davis, and she had been a part of a ghost hunting group, and they went out in different sites and whatnot on their own. And apparently they never found anything and all that. But they had fun, and she'd tell me stories about it here and there. But I had more of a rigid view even then. I had come out of being a a hardcore Christian into becoming an atheist. And at that time, I was still kind of open to a lot more broader ideas of what would be supernatural. Supernatural is difficult to define because you've got something that you're trying to tell me exists, but you can't give it definition. And there's always an excuse for why we can't seem to find evidence of these things you want to claim, or how it would be anything outside the natural world. I've always had a problem maybe with the definition of supernatural, as opposed to if you were able to define it, then you were able to move it into the realm of the natural. It's just supernatural sounds more like unknown in this respect. So I end up with a group of people like myself who kind of wanted to know, what are the claims? Is there any legitimacy? And a bunch of us got together, and a couple of us in different specialties. One of them was an architecture student. One of them was a guy that dealt in, he was studying entomology, so he could work on pest control businesses. That he wanted to actually open his own pest control business. It's what he wanted to do for a living. I found it an offbeat kind of thing to actually, like when you're a kid, you're growing up. What do you want to do? Well, I want to kill bugs and rodents, etc. That is an interesting desire, but he apparently always wanted to do it. Always found that idea fascinating, and I think he succeeded. So there's also one that dealt in a recording studio, recording whatnot, and we had him. And myself, I was a former law student that decided that wasn't going to be for me. Obviously, I've got a lab back here that deals in scorpions, so didn't quite go in that direction. I joined them, and they had me kind of as the faux leader, unofficial, to kind of guide them from point to point. So my job was to find these places and to set the appointments to go check them out and see if we can't get a handle on some of this. See if there's no legitimacy to it. Now, I'm gonna freeze right here. I've always hated these ghost hunter television shows. They are the biggest bunch of hot shit I know in terms of reality TV. Reality TV is already insulting enough, but holy dog shit, ghost hunting ones. I think it's the least scientific method I've watched. There's so many absurd notions about it, and one of the things I remember when I was looking them over, there was a guy. He enters the room in the middle of what was claimed to be a ghost house. And he puts his hands out and he goes, "If anybody is there, give us a sign." And like actively starts speaking out loud to the air. Oh my fucking God. But the problem is that people sort of semi-believe in ghosts. I mean, a great portion of your population is religious, and you have to go with the idea of a soul. And a soul is just basically going to be your ghost, right? So some people are perfectly fine with the idea that he's trying to talk to an actual ghost and somebody's soul. And that's a reasonable method to do that. I've got to say that right there just it always irked me, because you don't know what the hell you're going into. you don't know why the phenomenon are being reported. And to me, the way you go about finding out is first take as much data as you can and try to come up with your hypothesis. But not these guys. They go in with the assumption it must be a ghost, and they'll always start with a bad story about something that occurred in this place and who occupied what where, as if deities or and ghosts and all that shit are stuck to a place in an area. That even makes sense. But let's just give this for the moment being that a ghost is somehow stuck on this mud ball of a planet amongst the expanding universe, and in that one place on this mud ball that's spinning around its star and traveling at high speeds. Let's ignore the absurdity of the claim of a ghost that no one has ever seen ever, in terms of a way that you could show your work. I always found it weird that people they believe it so much, but it's amazing how much of this shit is reduced in terms of percentage to how many recording devices we seem to have around the same area. So the ghost hunting club and we went out and we took data like we were actually taking science data. I don't think we were universally loved for that. We didn't come in with half the hot garbage that people bring to these sort of areas and take data. Like ours is a basic setup of audio, video recording, and us kind of inspecting the place, and depending on the claim as to how these things come about. And I have a coat. And this coat I kind of designed and put on it from the Pac-Man Ghost. And every time we went to these ghost homes, or the claim that a ghost was at, or a building in one case, I would put another pin on that coat. That was one of the Pac-Man Ghost pins, and a variety of Pac-Man Ghost pins. A lot of antique pins ended up on that one. And I put one pin on for every ghost house we visited that didn't have a ghost, and that was every one of them. So I ended up with a lot of pins. The one or two I remember very specifically, we were able to solve the reason for X because we didn't see a lot of anything, regardless of the claim. The person would sit down and they'd give us the story. A lot of them would open with who owned the house first, and then we were like, whatever. But a couple of them wouldn't do that. They would just say, these are the occurrences here. And that would save us a lot of time, because we don't need the warm-up, really. But they would tell it, in one case, listen, in the middle of the night, these doors are opening and closing. And they slam, and I go there, and I know I left the door open, and it slammed closed, and I watched it happen. And so the one that we had that was the architecture student, he had kind of figured it out, is that at night the ground would cool down. The foundation was kind of needed some work, and he explained, look, the foundation needs some repair work here, here, and here. And what's causing this to happen is it's shifting your house, and it will slam your doors or open them in some cases. This was kind of not, this was kind of explained, and she's like, well, that makes a lot more sense. And yeah, sure, and it should. That makes more sense, because that's the more reasonable explanation than, little ghosties running around pushing your doors because they got nothing better to do with their goddamn afterlives. So when we talk about these houses, a few of them, one of the weirdest ones I've ever had was the pest control guy. He was able to actually solve this one. So she says, look, there's always this scratching in my walls. There's a scratching here, and if you listen, you can hear the scratching here, here, and here, and here. And so we take the audio video guy, he's recording. He's like, yeah, man, I am hearing some noises here, here, and here. So we're kind of excited about it, but Um, my pest control guy's a little more skeptical, and he's like, "Look, I've got an idea. Can we go down here in this area?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's really going on back here behind this wall." And he's like, "I see, ma'am. I think I know what's causing it, but we're going to need to cut this section open." And so we kind of worked a deal out with her where the architecture student knew enough about home repair. He wanted to actually build nice houses. And he knew all sorts of home repair tricks and of the trade, and he brought gear for that just in case we needed it. So that was kind of nice. So she had agreed to let us cut out a section of wall, and we did. And when we opened it up, there was nothing but king snakes in this wall, all in the wall. It's just filled with king snakes. And she was grossed out, but we were like, "What the hell is this about?" And so he tells her, "Let me guess, you used to have a lot of mice and then you suddenly didn't." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, so you've got snakes in your walls. They're not going to hurt anything, oddly enough. They'll be perfectly fine, and they'll dissipate according to the amount of food available. And they'll probably move on their own. But for now, they've probably been eating a whole lot of mice, and you're probably not going to have that problem anymore." And, "Oh, do I have to have them in my walls?" "Ma'am, I can't tell you what to do here. I would advise you to leave them." And that's a strange thing for a guy that wanted to deal in pest control, to tell you to leave the snakes. But there's apparently no harm in the natural remedy for this, for a mice infestation. So we, repaired the wall, and she sent us a thank you note over that. Just tickled pink that was the case, and loved to tell her friends about it. That was awesome. That was awesome. The last time we did ghost hunting, and this is where I kind of cut the thread on that. I was the one that called this one because of how angry it made me. We were called to a place called Bauxite, Arkansas. And I don't know if you know where Bauxite is, but Bauxite is named for the Reynolds company digging. This is an area where the Reynolds company, Reynolds Aluminum, deals in really digging these deep pits where they mine a lot of aluminum ore and all that bauxite out of there. And so that town is centered around those pits. In fact, there's a pond near it that is filled with blue water, and life doesn't live in that. Like, there's no algae, there's no fishing, there's warning signs, don't go near here or drink this. It's kind of bothersome. I've never seen a clear blue, like really radiantly blue pond like that before. Anyway, we end up at a house out of Bauxite, Arkansas. It's next to Bryant, Arkansas, if I remember correctly. The guy had called us up and says, "I've got evidence that in the night there's noises that come out, and they're obviously ghosts." Okay, sure. We'll go out, and we do, and then he gives us this story. It's a little long-winded for our taste. We humor everybody given this story, the lead up, and then he just kind of describes to us what it is. And as per our agreement, we're going to stay the night there. And he said, "Okay, do y'all need anything?" "No, we had already set up our recording equipment." "No, we're going to stay here, and we're going to monitor." And he looks around and says, "Well, aren't you going to turn out the lights?" "Why would we do that?" "Well, thought, that would be the best way to do that." "Why did you think that?" I'll tell you why people think that, offhand, is because it's in the movies, it's in the TV shows. You get lighting effects, the flickering, that sort of thing, and the ghost gets nearer to each flicker of a light, or the effect is basically at night it comes out, because at night it can get you and it's harmful, and the rays of the daylight hit it, then it disappears and you're safe in the light. And that's a sort of a mechanic in fiction, and it works great. in terms of whether or not it's real, in terms of what we're looking for. Not so much. So I end up, we get the guy out of there, but he doesn't want to leave unless we've turned off the lights. Strange, but we didn't think too much of it. We just thought he was, I don't know, curious about the business. And he does leave. So we're hanging out for a while, and we're doing our rounds around the place and just seeing if we hear anything, and then we're just sitting down and enjoying our beverages. And then we hear noises coming from the ceiling. And these noises were obviously coming from the ceiling in such a way that they were seemingly almost timed. And we're just kind of sitting there going, what the fuck? And they're looking at me for what we should do now. And I said, is that actually coming out of the ceiling? And they kind of go, yeah, man. We go ahead and go into the attic. This attic has a laptop connected to an amplifier and speakers spread out around the house to activate at certain times. And also it has certain cameras set up to kind of monitor us being there. I was mad as fuck. You see, there are people who are looking for the answers to the universe in certain areas. And in curiosities like this, is there a ghost? Does this meet the claim? Or is this something else we don't understand? And if you're trying to take a scientific stand to it, you're wanting to root out the bullshit. And it's difficult to do when people like this treat it like a funhouse amusement park. People's goals to discover these things, which is why, again, I don't respect that television show on ghost hunting. Get the fuck out of here with that. You're not treating it with the scientific inquiry it deserves. The problem is a lot of that leads to, well, didn't find anything and nothing really came up and there's a reasonable explanation for this. No one wants to hear that. They want to hear, ooh, there could be, there might be, intense. And if it's not, it's kind of boring. But at least it's honest, you know? So the crew and I pull all that shit out of the attic. Wires, speakers, the little mini cameras. We pull all of that shit, including the laptop. All of it was down there. And it was in a box. Put it in a box. We're waiting for the guy to get back because we're mad AF. And he does return in the morning. Said, hey guys, what'd you think? And just pointed out, and we showed him the box. Hey, you know what this stuff is? And he looks at it. Now, he knows what it is. We could see that by looking at him. And he knows that we know what it is. And he knows we know that he did that. He doesn't want to admit it. So what he did was just deny. He said, no, I don't know what any of that is. Oh, you don't, do you? And like a couple of my group are just snickering a little bit. Said, okay, man, that's fine. Look, I tell you what, I don't think you'll have any more problems from ghosts anymore. So we started taking that box with us, notably in front of him. You go, hey, what are you doing with the box? Oh, we're just asking you if you knew what it was, but if you don't, that's cool. Don't worry about it. And wait, is that mine? No, surely not. Because if that was yours, I'd be led to believe that you drew us here under false pretenses. But you couldn't have possibly done that, right? And he still hesitated. We end up starting to walk. He goes, wait, okay, yes, it's mine, okay? I'm sorry, it's mine. So let me get this straight. Somebody here wasted someone else's time, didn't they? And he says, yes, look, I'm sorry, I just wanted to, I wanted to record it for my website and just have, some fun at our expense. Well, it's just in good fun. Yeah, we're done, man. We leave this box. We leave. And the rest of the crew talked to me about that. They're like, look, man, think we're losing our enthusiasm for this now. Yeah, that one left a bad taste in my mouth too. So I guess we're disbanded, man. But it was great to try to look into it with you guys. And I hear from them every once in a while, you know. It's good to hear from them every once in a while. See how they're doing. I don't get to hear about the pest control guy. Again, I think he managed to get his own business up and going, but I do hear from the architectural guy and the audio video sound guy. Nevertheless, I hope if you're looking for these answers, like actively going out, that you treat it with the respect it deserves, and remember that there's a lot of assholes out there. That's the minimum I'm gonna put it. A lot of people just want to know the answers to these great questions, and maybe it's a fear of death that kind of drives the ghosts hunting stories. But I think it's more important that we take it seriously if we're serious about finding out what these answers are. Don't start from the predisposition of believing it's already true and looking for your data. Be willing to be falsifiable. Nevertheless, thank you for joining me. Have a good day.